Okay, guys, so we have got two legends on the channel today, CG Miller and somebody named Crumb, who right now you guys can't see him, but he kind of looks like Jesus right now with his hair down. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Super good. So we're going to talk about Executor today. Lots of exciting stuff to talk about. I think I'm getting some up and down lukewarm responses from some people, excited response from some people. A lot of the negative side of things is probably going to be ships in general, and then obviously the requirements. But I think once people see the animations, which I've seen, the spoiler alert, the Death Star delete of a capital ship, I think there's a lot to be excited about here. So I'm just gonna start. We'll start hard here, okay? A lot of Galaxy Heroes players really don't like ships. Now, this I'll fully acknowledge this could be a biased subset of the community that I appeal to and that I interact with. Maybe that's not what you guys see at large, but those are the people I interact with. Did you guys talk about this when you were kind of designing, bringing in a new capital ship to the game? Was that player experience in your mind, trying to improve ships somehow, or what would you say about kind of that overall mood for ships when you're bringing in a new capital ship?
So the last couple we brought in kind of redefined the meta for ships, but that has been a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a need for a refresh, a long overdue need. Just getting the resources to get a capital ship onto the schedule is not exactly easy. We have to make a case for it, and bounty hunters needed a fleet. So this is how we ended up where we did. We wanted to shake up the meta. We wanted to give bounty hunters a fleet, and I've been trying to get the Executor in the game since I was hired. So
how long has that been?
About 2.5 years ago.
You're doing the Lord's work, good sir. I'm excited about this ship. I'd say probably the last ship I thought would come, mostly because I wasn't thinking we'd need a new Empire ship in the game, but it's an amazing ship, and I'm super excited about it. Which circles me back to this question. I think the community at large, one of the number one speculated capital ships that keeps arising is some kind of bounty hunter capital ship. A lot of people suggested Hondo Onaka's ship, which I always kind of chuckle at because I really don't see how that could possibly be a capital ship with how small it is. But did you guys discuss, was kind of the launching point for this Executor thing, we need a bounty hunter ship, what can we get to fit, and here's the possible ships, and we landed on Executor? Or was it, we want to bring Executor to the game, where could we make him fit? Oh, we got this scene with bounty hunters, let's just kind of figure that out.
So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So
okay.
we knew bounty hunters needed a capital ship in order to be a fleet, in order to get Houndstooth out of every other fleet in the game.
What? I don't use Houndstooth
in
every fleet.
And so we racked our brains. What could be the bounty hunter capital ship? We looked at Hondo's Flying Saucer. And
isn't it the like, Rapier one?
Yeah. We said, well, this could be maybe, but like Hondo's really more of a smuggler, scoundrel, pirate, not really a bounty hunter. Plus, we'd have to put Hondo in the game at that point, and then that opened up another can of worms.
That's not a can of worms. That's just good.
Yeah, I mean, I
Look,
agree.
You'll get no fight from me on Hondo, that's for sure.
That is a can of all good things and lots of money for you guys. So I see no drawback to that. Anyway, continue.
So we were just kind of bouncing around there, and then like I said, since I started, I wanted to get the Executor in the game.
Yeah.
Problem was, Empire already had 2 capital ships. Didn't need a third one. And so I really tried to figure out how to make the case for a third Empire capital ship. Then I just remembered, I was like, wait a minute. And I'm pretty sure. So I fired up Empire Strikes Back, and I was like, yep, they all met on the Executor. All the bounty hunters gathered on the bridge of the Executor. This could be our bounty hunter staging area. It's capital ship. It could work with bounty hunters. Give it some light Empire synergy at the same time. And, if it all works thematically. So I kind of pitched that out there, and no one really said no, but this was a long time ago. First thing we needed to do was give it a admiral, So basically, this was on the schedule since Admiral Piet came out, just trying to find a space for it.
So if I'm hearing this right, it sounds like this was your brainchild to get the Executor in here. This is Miller's pitch.
I'm not going to take credit for everything on this ship, but this is really my baby.
Nice.
And I'm so proud of the team executing the vision that I kind of put forward for it and knocking it out of the park with this ship.
Executoring your vision, you mean?
Sure.
I'm a dad.
I did have to teach a lot of people how to pronounce it.
Oh, wait, am I saying it wrong?
No, you are.
Okay.
Executor.
Yeah. Okay, I was a little bit nervous for a second. Okay.
Everyone wants to say executor, and I have
there's a lot of executors, and it's
I have to remind people. I have to
Executor.
remind people it's the executioner that kills people, not the executor.
The Executor just kills everybody.
Executor deals with wills. So.
And stuns everybody and doesn't blow itself up in the process. So okay, now from a game design standpoint, we're dividing these questions. By the way, fam, as we get into this, I got a few intro questions here. We're gonna go through. We're gonna talk about the kit itself here in a little bit. Then we're gonna talk about more specific design questions and implications for Galaxy Heroes in general. But just from a high level standpoint, defensive ship, offensive ship, a little bit of both. Where are you guys at on this?
A little bit of both. It's got a very deadly ultimate, and you can you'll be able to stick it on defense if you have it at a high enough level. It should be able to hold its own. In the defensive side, but attacking with it, there's going to be not much that can withstand the firepower as it is.
Right. Yeah, and that's probably a concern. And we'll talk about that a little bit, guys. I think a lot of you who maybe aren't close to getting the Executor, I made a whole video on this. I was kind of figuring this was going to be a pretty big deal. And I told you guys to farm this instead of Anakin first if you have to choose. So, but we'll talk about where you guys are at in terms of how beatable this is going to be. Now, shifting a little bit of discussion on the requirements. This is some pretty steep requirements for a ship. 2 Relic 8 characters. Why are we making the requirements this high for a ship?
I mean, this ship is coming in at the top of the meta, and we need to make sure that it's players who have been playing the game for a while, who already are sitting at the top of the meta, have first crack at staying there. So those players probably have a lot of these requirements, or they're very close on several of them. It is the very first ship to require characters for playing the event, which is new for us. Before that, we could only limit you by the stars on your ship, and that is a very low bar in today's Relic world. So we wanted to make sure that players who were investing in this ship were investing in a top of the meta ship and being rewarded for their investment.
Okay. Well, I'm still not super stoked about it, but I understand. Okay, let's dig into the kit itself. And I do have to say, apart from I would say as a fan of this game, my concerns, the relic or the requirements feel a bit tough to swallow. I'm also concerned a little bit about how overpowered this may be. But let's set those two concerns aside. This kit looks insanely dope. I'm really excited about the kit, especially the ultimate ability. Crumb sent me a look at the ultimate animation. I was at a family reunion, and everyone looked at me when I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And they had no idea what I was freaking out about, and I didn't show them because NDA, right? None of them play Galaxy Heroes. But anyway, tell me a little bit about this ultimate ability. How excited were you guys about this? We've never seen anything like this in game. It's just, I think it's one of the coolest things I've seen in this game yet.
So like I said, this is my baby. I sat down and I was kind of like hammering out the kit, and I got like the basic down. I got the specials written, and I sat there on the ultimate for days. I mean, it was a stumper. I could not figure out what this ship could do that is cool enough for a top of the meta ship.
Mm.
And I was like, what does it do in the movies? Like in Empire Strikes Back, it just kind of doesn't really do anything. It just looks imposing. And in Return of the Jedi, all it really does is crash into the Death Star. And then I realized Death Star, wait, we could totally give the player a fire the Death Star button, because that during the Battle of Endor, that is exactly what happens. And so I wrote it out. I kind of subtly pitched it to a couple other designers, and every person I pitched it to was like, "Oh my God, yes, we have to do that." And then every pitch meeting from that point forward was, yeah. And then we get to the ultimate, and they're like, "Yep, okay, we're making the ship. This is now, signed off. Let's do it. We will figure everything out to make all of this happen." And yeah, it was one of those moments as a game designer where you kind of just realize you found the right thing, and giving the player a Death Star button, I think is absolutely the right thing for this ship.
It has my knees weak, I will confess. And I like it too, because we've always kind of wanted to see the Death Star in the game. It's one of the most iconic bits of Star Wars lore. We haven't really had that at all yet. And I don't think it's really made sense in a lot of ways, other than, obviously we got some environments on the Death Star, etc. And I don't think it makes sense to have a Death Star capital ship. That would just be a little too obnoxious. So to have this be a part of this ship, I think is a happy medium that I think a lot of people are going to be really stoked about. I'm excited to see the community reaction to it. Now, speaking of the alts, obviously it almost like reverse charges. Obviously, you've got the breach, which decreases the cooldown. It kind of feels like an ultimate charge for a Galactic Legend. Just it's reducing instead of charging. How quickly are you seeing that alt proc in your testing? Because there's so many different ways to apply breach with bounty hunters. Are you seeing that happen in a couple turns? Because maxed out, it's only a 20 cooldown.
It's not blazingly fast. You actually have to ask yourself a choice, right? When we go into the kit, you'll see that the Executor has the equivalent of a contract, bounty hunter contract, sort of like Razor Crest does. However, it's looking for target locks, whereas Razor Crest is looking for breaches. And so when you're obviously going to have Razor Crest in this fleet, and you're going to have to ask yourself, should I go for target locks or should I go for breaches? If I go for breaches right away, then I might be able to get the ult down fast enough to fire and basically, close this thing out. However, if I go for target locks and I fulfill that contract, it breaches everyone. And that may be enough to push me over on the Razor Crest contract. And then just everything falls into place, pushes you over. The cooldown gets brought down to a nice manageable level, and you can go. But like this ship is not a brainless ship. You really have to think about like how you're going to deal with whatever opponent you're going up against.
It's brainless if you're going up against not brainless if you're going up against another Executor. But I mean, look at it's got to be auto against everything else, right?
It's not. I mean, it can be. It all depends on what's on the other side of the equation. We do a lot of testing at like max level on everything. Yeah. So you as a player, when you're going up against another fleet, you don't know if they've got their crew is all at high relic, or if they've really invested in their ships as much as they could have. So you might see success against an Executor that the player just kind of unlocked it and then threw it out there on defense. But you just have to weigh all your options. I don't think it's going to be an auto ship on offense. But I encourage players to get out there and play with it, especially if you want to fire the ultimate. Like I don't think you're going to get to the ultimate on auto. So
Okay, so interesting. So the ultimate maybe not on auto. Now here's something I think is interesting about the kit as I read through it. There's a lot of bounty hunter synergy. There's a lot of empire synergy too. Do you anticipate the empire ships being more of a secondary focus on this fleet? It looks like the synergies are very, very biased towards bounty hunters. I'll give you a few examples. Basic 25% more damage for each active bounty hunter versus 5% for empire. Special one, the mass assist it will be on a target lock enemy. 30% less damage for empires that will all get called there. Whereas if you attack a breached enemy, it's 10% less damage, and all bounty hunters get called to assist. Special 2 has several bonuses to call out bounty hunters. No empire bonuses there. The ultimate cooldown is reduced by breach, which I believe only bounty hunter ships can land. Crew ability favors bounty hunters in every way except for the unique ability, which I'm forgetting the name right now, that only empire can get. So much of this kit is just tilted towards bounty hunters. It kind of makes me wonder, like, why is empire even here? If that makes sense.
I mean, the answer is it's an empire ship, right? If we gave it no empire synergy, like there would be pitchforks at our door. I mean, there's no one at the office, but there would be pitchforks out there and torches. You know, at its heart, it has to synergize with empire in some way. But you're right. Like, you really are just kind of bringing empire ships to kind of fill out the rest of the reinforcements. Maybe you bring in TIE Bomber in case they somehow take out your Houndstooth early and you need to get another tank out there. Slave One's probably not going to do it in that regard. So TIE Bomber is a nice backup to have. You know, Vader and his TIE Advanced is a beast of a ship. If you're not running a pure Imperial fleet somewhere, he could definitely fit in this. And we did a lot of testing with him.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm a big fan of theming on kits and trying to stick to the lore and making ships feel like they belong in the game. You know, when you know, our players are huge Star Wars fans, right? If we made the Executor and didn't have, you know, and made it as a bounty hunter ship, but didn't have like a nod to Piet saying we don't need their scum, right? Which is that buff you're talking about. Like, empire ships get a buff when bounty hunter allies are defeated because Piet believes they don't need them and they can do it all on their own. So, right. You know, with that buff is there for theme. The names of the abilities are there for theme. Breach of protocols, unorthodox methods. Vader is not doing things the Imperial way by hiring bounty hunters, and we're calling that out in the kit.
Okay. I respect it because you got an interesting dance here. We talk about this on my channel all the time, especially on my streams, of you want things to be true to the lore, but you also got a game to balance. And so I can see where you're coming from there. There is, if I lean strictly to my lore side of my fandom, then the Executor working with bounty hunters is kind of amusing to me. But I also really want the bounty hunter ships to have a capital ship to work with. This ship is dope. I love the ultimate animation. The game side of me goes, all right, let's go. I see the justification. It's good enough for me. So I see where you're coming from that. Now, something else I want to call out. The kit, I thought this was interesting. It references the possibility of 2 ultimate abilities proccing. Does that really happen? Because obviously, once you do that, once you blow up the enemy capital ship, you stun them, you're buffing your team, giving them protection up. It's just like, how would anybody possibly survive long enough to get to that second ult? Did you actually see that happen in testing?
No, but it's an edge case, and I'm gonna solve for the edge case if I know it exists. I'm sure if we didn't put anything in there, some players out there would say, what happens when I fire this 2 times, and figure out a way to get it to happen, and then say, oh, it just shoots at a blank space and doesn't do anything, or it locks my game up because there's no capital ship to destroy. So we made sure that there is actually a different animation, a different
animation.
It's slightly different. You know, it hits the enemy side and just destroys all their ships.
Okay.
It is the I win button at that point.
We got to find a way to make that happen, man. This going to be my number one goal once the ship hits. Twice, okay? All right, let's move on to some more design-oriented questions here. The Death Star moment. Let's see here. I actually kind of already asked you this question. I've got this listed here, so we're going to skip on. The Executor is a huge ship. It's a lot bigger than a Star Destroyer. Obviously, Dreadnought class. Did you find any issues scaling this and finding the right balance of how do we make this look as big as this ship is, but also fit it on the screen? Because it's sitting next to, Home 1, which is significantly smaller.
I'm not going to lie. When I started and I kind of pitched this ship, I said, can we get the Executor in the game? People were like, it's too big. Can't fit it on the screen. It literally would like clip into the planet that's there. And it's just, it wouldn't work right. It's just too big. And like, I was pitching ideas. I was like, how about you just fight over the ship, right? It becomes the battlefield at that point. We could, and
actually, that would have been cool.
It would, yeah. Until you get to the mirror match, then it's like, what happens there?
True.
Like I said, edge cases, I have to solve them all.
Yeah.
And so when I pitched the ship, I could tell there were a lot of like that hesitation in the room of it's still too big. Like it's still like I don't know how we're going to do this until I pitched the Death Star shooting. And then they're like, okay, how do we do this? Right. Let's hunker down. Let's figure this out. Right. And the suggestion of hey, like we did for the Negotiator, we could put some 4-scale Star Destroyers in with the ship to kind of sell the scale, as it were.
Sure.
And so, yeah, that's what we did. We made sure we had some 4-scale Star Destroyers. Like the actual model in the game is not a scaled to the battlefield version of the Executor, but it checks all the boxes. It does everything it needs to.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was wondering about that, and I'm curious. I haven't seen it in game yet. Only briefly. The animation I have seen is the alt animation, and I kind of see it sitting there. And it almost looked like too. You weren't showing the whole ship, right? It was kind of. I don't know what it looked like on the mirror match, but it kind of looked like also part of that was you're showing maybe the front part of the ship, not the entire ship, so it's easier to get away with not. Because you showed the whole thing there, it just looks so small, right?
Yeah, I know. I think the modeler on it was a little disappointed we weren't seeing the underside as much.
Yeah.
Because he's like, man, I worked so hard on that.
Poor guy. All right, moving on. We've got, let's see here. Balance questions. So, did you run into any challenges balancing the ship? I know recently you guys talked about the nightmare that was balancing Omega. When you dropped her in the game and trying to get her to not just ratchet the Bad Batch to be better than GLs probably. How was it balancing the Executor? Did you run any issues getting that scaled the way you wanted it?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, making a top of the meta ship is easier than making something like landing anything in the middle of a meta ladder. Like if you say this is gonna be like in the top 10 but not the top 5, then it becomes kind of a nightmare to balance. But just saying, hey, this is going to be the top of the meta for a while. We just need to make sure that we have built in some Achilles heels to the unit that we can exploit in the future when it no longer should be sitting at the top of the meta. We do this for everything. So that's kind of where we went with that. We kind of had to kind of bump up some stuff. The original Breach of Protocols was vastly different than what it ended up being. Sorry, we only need to keep them from escaping. That's the one that changed vastly.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That one did a lot of weird stuff with your taunters and stripping taunt off all your taunters, putting it on one of them. So like at the end of the day, it just didn't work. You never pressed it, and because you never pressed it, the ship wasn't performing as well as we wanted. So our the guy who was implementing this and doing all the balance for it went in and changed the ability just enough to make it work.
Cool. Yeah, and that makes sense. Top of the meta, a little bit easier to manage. It's just more of a future implication, right? Not an immediate implication. You don't want to power creep too much, which I'm sure power creep is your favorite word in a 6-year-old game with how many meta shifts.
Yeah, I mean it's unavoidable. You just if you want players to continue to want to play your game, want to stay at the top of the ladder, you kind of have to do a little power creep here and there.
Absolutely. Okay. Now I want to shift, and we'll finish here. I want to talk about the general implications for Galaxy of Heroes. That the ship is going to have. I've got some concerns myself. Now I'm blitzing the ship. I'm gonna get the ship as early as I possibly can. I think it's gonna be really important to have. But for those who do not have an Executor, how challenging do you anticipate it being to counter this ship without an Executor?
If they've got a good top of the current top of the meta ship and they're doing well in their shards and they're doing well in Grand Arena with their fleets, and they're going up against an Executor who's not been blitzed, is not 7 stars, is just sitting at the 4 stars of the unlock, then they should have a chance. There's they don't have all the abilities maxed out. They don't have all the reinforcements that it could have. It's not an instant defeat. Give it a
4
shot.
Stars though. Because eventually we're gonna have 7-star ships. So
eventually you'll have 7-star ships, but hopefully when there are enough 7-star ships out there, you've got your 7-star Executor as well.
Okay. So for those who aren't able to get the Relic 8 materials, aren't able to get these characters as quickly as others, when they're in that gap of time where maybe they're farming their Executor or maybe they're just miles away from it, 7-star Executors galore in Grand Arena, in their shard, sounds like they're probably going to be out of luck, is kind of what I'm hearing.
In Grand Arena, you can, you don't know if your opponent's going to put it on defense. You may just kind of have to sacrifice your space zone, knowing that your opponent's got an Executor and they're going to want to play with it.
Okay. All right. Well, I see what you're saying. Being perfectly honest, that makes me antsy as a player. For those out there who are going to have a hard time getting this Executor. So, guys, once again, if you're watching this, I told you, go for the Executor. Do not wait. Sounds like at 7 stars, it's going to be very, very, very challenging to beat unless you've got the mirror match. Now, are you able to share? I don't know if you have this data in front of you. Are you able to share right now how fast the ship is going to be next to the other ships?
Oh, I don't have that data.
You don't have that? Okay. No. We'll find that out once it's in game. I'm sure that'll be a big topic of discussion as well. Do you guys?
I just want to I will interject there. A lot of the ships that the Executor wants to have is something we're also requiring pilots at relic levels at. So, right. If you're getting the Executor, your pilots for your ships and your Admiral Priet is going to be Relic 8. So, that's something you don't have to worry about. Like everyone's like, oh, Admiral Priet at Relic 8, he's not that great of a character. Why do I want to Relic 8 him? Well, you want to Relic 8 him because he's going to be the crew on the Executor. So,
well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I literally get weak knees whenever I send my troopers into battle. So I appreciate the encouragement to relegate my Piet. I love that guy. He's so good. So yeah, I think that's one thing. If we shift the conversation to Rex a little bit, I don't love how steep they are for a ship. It's hard to get excited to farm that much for a ship for me personally. However, the characters that are required are almost all usable. And you were nice on us with almost every character that's required. It is going to be utilized in the fleet for that. And who's going to complain about having a Relic 7 Vader? I mean, we'll see what it looks like after the adjustment to his kit. I'm gonna call it a nerf. You guys can call it a touch up. I actually think that that's something I'm pretty much okay with in terms of the Rex. I just don't love how steep the climb is. Now another question. I don't know if you can answer this or not. I'd love it if you could. Is there going to be another bounty hunter ship coming with this? I think a lot of people are eyeing Dengar at Relic 5, thinking, are we going to get Dengar's ship? His name's escaping right now, or any other ships?
Punishing One.
Punishing One. That's right.
Yeah. I can't comment on that.
Damn it! Tell me everything. No, that's okay.
It's worth also to mention that Slave One is getting an update with this as well, and I don't think that'll be in the update notes. I think going live probably in the next days, or maybe it's just gone live right now, depending on when this interview happens. But yeah, Slave One is getting a nice touch up though as part of this, and making his kit I'd say significantly better at being part of this squad than anything, or this fleet than anything else.
Yeah, I should mention when you're talking about balancing. The original Slave One, like we did like a pass when we did Razor Crest.
Right.
And Razor Crest said everybody gets breach when they use a special. That was directly pointed at Slave One, which was created before we had breach. And so like we didn't want to have to touch Slave One at the time. So, but then we got to Executor, and Slave One was super underperforming. It was not a ship you wanted to put in the fleet. There were just better choices.
Right.
And that didn't sit well with me, didn't sit well with the designer implementing it. And so we said, well, what can we do to Slave One? What kind of touch-ups can we make? And he made a couple of mechanical suggestions, which I approved. And then I suggested, hey, how about, the sonic bomb, if we just reset the cooldown if everyone's breached, if you achieve that, like his sonic bomb's ready to go, or if you bring him out of reinforcements and everyone's breached, it's ready to go. You can pop out and drop that sonic bomb.
Seismic charges.
Seismic charge.
Tell me if you guys both agree, but literally the best sound effect in the history of all sound effects.
It's up there. Yeah. It's up there.
Nothing beats
when,
it.
When they did it in Mandalorian season 2, I was giddy.
I was like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's sitting on the couch. He's like, oh, he's like pointing at the TV. I was like, hey, they did the thing. They did the thing. Oh yeah, and I will throw some of that information on the screen for the Slave One touch up. I do have that in front of me. Basically, yeah, we're adding a unique ability, No Good to Me Dead, at the start of the battle or when reinforced. For each active enemy, Slave One gains 5% offense, 2% crit chance, and 5 speed for the rest of the battle. The first time all enemy ships are breached while Slave One is active, or if Slave One enters the battle while enemy ships are breached, seismic charges cooldowns are reset, which is what you just discussed. And then while Slave One is active, breached enemies deal 50% less damage when they attack out of turn. I think that's pretty big. And a couple little touch-ups on the basic ability will dispel if the target is breached. And then on the reinforcement, I actually think this is pretty dope. Slave One will get an additional 20% protection up per breached enemy out there. So with that, combine that with the taunt, if everyone's breached right now, you could have 4 breaches maybe at that point. That could be a lot of protection up. So I think it's going to comfortably make him a pretty solid reinforcement ship. Based on the
he went from not using breach at all in his kit to breach everywhere.
Breach. All the breach, like the Oprah meme. You get breach and you get breach and you get your cooldowns reset. Very good. Okay, so no comment on the Dengar situation. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed still because I would love to have more bounty hunter ships in the game.
It's not just Dengar who can use a ship. I mean, there's plenty of bounty hunters in the game.
There's
do not have ships yet.
I love Dengar. And Dengar's on the Rex. So
it's because he was on the bridge.
Are you saying that it's not Dengar, but it's somebody else coming?
I didn't say anything. I'm just reminding you that there's more than one bounty hunter ship out there.
No, I got you. Let's see here. I've got one last question listed, and then we'll see if there's anything else you guys want to call out. Should we be expecting every capital ship coming to the game from now on to have this level of steep requirements? Is this going to be the new standard for capital ships?
I don't think so. Some people have compared this to like a Galactic Legend capital ship. It's not like it's not there. It is a very powerful ship. It is a top of the meta ship. But I don't think this is going to be the standard going forward. We will probably look at some character wrecks on ships moving forward, especially making sure that their pilot is at least in the relic level, just because that allows us to sort of like give the ship to the players who are chasing it the most. They're seeking it out. They're fans of Aura Singh, and they want her ship, so she's a requirement. Not saying we're doing her ship.
Oh, you just did. That's confirmed.
No, I did not.
That's in the thumbnail.
I had to not say Dengar because I knew you were going to jump on that. So
this is not an interview. I'm here to entrap you in your own language. Yeah, I see what you mean. So that's good to hear too, because I think that was probably one of my concerns when I see Rex like this. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the standard for every ship going forward. So I think people will be relieved to hear that.
Yeah, no, we have plans for ships. We have marquee ships. We have, or well, not marquee. They're Galactic Chases. But we're trying to broaden the ship. Like we started this interview, right? A lot of people discount ships. They don't think of ships as an integral part of their gameplay. We're trying to kind of shift that notion, shake up the meta a little bit, encourage players to get out there and pursue some ships that they might not have normally.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those game modes. I'd love to see it find ways to be more engaging. Me personally, it's still really important right now. It's really important. There hasn't been a lot that's changed, obviously, but for the people who really focus down their ships can have a shocking edge in this game, especially in Grand Arena, is where you can really get tripped up if you have not focused on your ships enough. And I think this is going to blow a gasket in that and just make it that much more important for everyone out there. I'm going to iterate again, guys. You got to farm the ship. I wanted to go right for Lord Vader. I can't go for both. I don't have that much money. I got to choose right now, and Executor is 1,000% my path of choice. I'm blitzing it as fast as I can because I want to win Grand Arenas. So, guys, we're about at time here. I want to thank both of you for coming on. Crumb's been here, kind of lurking in the shadows.
You didn't talk about I won't say my favorite part of the kit, but the second best part of the kit is it dispels out maneuver. It's so awesome and thematic. How like that is just perfect for that ship to have. Like, oh, it's one of my favorite parts. But yeah, sorry, I've just been lurking here. But Miller's been doing a great job. So what do I need to say? I'm just a community manager.
Who are you?
Who am I? That's a question I ask myself every day.
We got Jean Valjean over here. That's great. Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys before we ended it if there's anything else about the ship you wanted to get out, or heck, if you want to ask me any questions, I don't know, anything you guys want to cover before we end.
I'll ask you a question. If you could put any ship in the game, what would it be?
Ooh, well, it'd be Red 5.
Red 5. What would it do?
It would blow up everything. It would just be gone, just dead. I don't know. So here's my thing. I'll tell you guys this right now. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but the number one thing that I hate in Galaxy of Heroes is fan kits. And the reason why I might sound like a negative Nancy or just be like a Debbie Downer or whatever. To me, I'm like, they're going to design the kit. There's no value in me thinking through, like, what's it going to do? I don't know what it's going to do. I speculate on what's it going to do. It's going to do what it's going to do. You guys are going to tell me what it's going to do, and then I'll figure it out from there. So I don't really think that way, if that makes sense. I don't think a lot about what ships or characters might do, because that's your field, Miller. You think about that.
We read Reddit. Like, we're on that forum. We see those fan kits. We saw the Kenobi and Fallen Anakin kits a year and a half ago when someone posted them. We don't study them. We don't, say, whoa, what should we do? What are the players expected to do? We write our own. You're right. We write our own kit. We
That's why I don't care for them. I'm like, okay,
but we do like to go back and see how close they got.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. So have you ever, in your history as a game designer, taken an idea from a fan kit?
Yes.
Shit.
I feel like there's definitely been some inspiration from some of the kits. It may not be like the exact thing.
Philosophy.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, I had to go back and think. I don't think I've done it for Galaxy of Heroes, but I am fairly certain on City of Heroes. Like someone suggested a street fighting kit, and we created a punching power set for scrappers and tanks.
Okay, so I guess fan kits aren't completely worthless.
It doesn't hurt, right? Like it's cool to see the inspiration. And I feel like there's been a couple designers I've talked to at CG who've said, like, I saw that thing. There's some good ideas in there. There's also some bad ideas in there, but there's some good inspiration there for what we wanted to do. And I think it also goes to like, what is the translation of this character from the movies or the TV shows or whatever? Like, what are the things that they think about as the core identity of that character that has to kind of come over into the game? And I think like just that is an idea, and like as just a brainstorm is always helpful just to think about the character.
Right.
Yeah, I said like this is probably not going to be, hey, we saw that idea, we're just going to directly copy it and throw that in the game, because there's like so many other things that we have to think about as a team, like balance wise, and all the different like knock-on effects of stuff that a lot of people aren't thinking about when they make this kit. They're like, oh yeah, Red 5 be awesome, just blows up everything. It's like, well, do you really want that as a kit in our game? Because the implications of that, okay, I know you do, but but the design implications of it, the balance implications long term, we have to really consider a lot of that stuff. And so and that said, I don't want to discourage people from making kits, because I think it's cool and it's fun to read, and there is some cool stuff that comes out of those. But I mean, like we're gonna make a game that we feel is great, and we're gonna do what we're gonna do, I guess, is ultimately the answer to that question. But don't discourage them.
I come from the school where Wedge Antilles, Red 2, was just as good, if not a better pilot than Luke Skywalker.
Ooh,
so we can have that fight if you'd like.
I mean, Luke was force sensitive, so.
Yeah, he's cheating. So
cheated, yeah. No, I see what you're saying, Crom. I get it. I will say though, on my Discord server, I actually have a rule that nobody's allowed to post fan kits.
This is probably like a healthy amount, right? Like, and then the problem is it can go too far in one direction. Where like
so many people that used to ping me like, "Cubs, what do you think about this kit?" I'm like, I literally don't care. It's not in the game, man. Oh man. All right. Well, you guys, I really appreciate you coming on the channel and taking the questions. Really excited for the ship in the game again. Everyone, go farm this ship. If you care about Grand Arena, it's going to be important. Like it, love it, hate it. Wherever you guys are at in the spectrum, it's just one of those things. You're just going to need to have it, it sounds like. And based on a lot of Miller's comments in regards to where we're at on a 7-star situation, you're not going to want to be without the ship when we get to that phase of the game. So anyway, Crum, Miller, thanks so much for coming, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Cubs.
Who shot first, guys?
It's only one answer to this, of course, Han.
It's not who shot first, it's who shoots.
Yes! That's
actual
true.
Question.
Yes! Yeah.
I love you. That is the actual answer right there, because Han never shot first, because Greedo never shot. He's the only one who shot.
He's preemptive strike on Greedo for sure until later versions.
Yeah. My respect for Miller just increased by about 10,000. This is wonderful.
Sorry, I tried to answer the actual question. I'm a fool. Why did I think that?
I trapped you. So.
Anyways, thank you for having us, Cubs. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good one, guys. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.